Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and the theme of this video is going to be why you need to be careful buying stocks into earnings and why I could have lost a lot of money, but I didn't this time. Let's get started.
I just want all of the money.
Earlier in the year, if you guys recall, I did a video on GrubHub where I had bought GrubHub into earnings season and I sold 2 covered calls on GrubHub. I had performed this trade which really capped out my gains and didn't really limit my losses to the downside that much. Overall, that trade had netted me about $906, which I was pretty happy about. You know, GrubHub had earnings this past October, and those of you guys who are following Grub know exactly what happened. The price dropped from like 60 some dollars all the way down to like 38, 37. It lost like 40% of its market cap in one day. The CEO did something that was very not cool. If I was a long-term investor of GrubHub, I would be pissed. He basically, during the earnings call, got on the earnings call and essentially was like, hey guys, we're fucked right now. You know, you don't really want to do that as a CEO. As a CEO, you kind of want to try to keep confidence when your investors are going out the door. He was making comments along the lines, I believe the phrase was something, it wasn't exactly like this, but something along the lines of people who use GrubHub were very promiscuous about the application and were essentially shopping around. But you know, a comment like that isn't really necessary to talk about. You know, as a CEO, you could word it perhaps a little bit better than calling your user base promiscuous and talking about rising competition and all that stuff. Obviously, there's rising competition, but you want to kind of go back out onto your conference call and say, hey, this is the competition, DoorDash, Lyft, Uber, whatever, but we're gonna crush their asses. But that just did not happen here. Anyway, basically after the CEO got on the conference call and was like, hey guys, we're all fucked right now, the stock actually tanked 40%. Sometimes trading is a little bit about luck, and I was just very lucky this time that I stayed out of the trade. If I had placed the same trade, which is buy 200 shares of GrubHub and sell 2 covered calls, I would have been out almost 6 or 7 grand. And because I've actually gotten a little bit wealthier in the last year, my trading size may have been up to maybe 300 shares of just shares I'm willing to gamble on. I may have been stuck 9 or 10 grand. So I'm pretty glad I didn't take that trade. Really happy about that. Having said that, I did something else you're not really supposed to do in the stock market. I know I'm gonna get beat up by a lot of traders out there. I was trying to bottom fish the price of Grub stock. So when the market opened, it was down like 38, 39%. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna buy a negligible 100 shares here at 38 and change. And then it just kept falling throughout the day. And it kept falling, and I just kept buying into it. I think my final set of shares I bought for 34.9. Somehow my camera may have not picked up on every single trade, but I ended up closing out the trade at a loss for the first day. I'm still trying to see if I have the footage. Hopefully I do. If not, maybe I'll try to push the activity of what I bought and sold it for instead. And you guys can see I ended up taking a loss for it the very day it announced earnings. So I still gambled on GrubHub, but I felt like this is a safer way of gambling. This is kind of the route most day traders actually end up taking, except I did something you're not really supposed to do in day trading, which is I kept trying to bottom fish. I didn't wait for the price action to turn positive. I kept trying to say, okay, 100 shares, how much really lower can it go? Another 100 shares, how much really lower can it go? Another 100 shares, how much really lower can it go? And then I got stuck holding a bunch of shitty shares of a company that is basically a glorified delivery service. So anyway, I took a loss on it earnings day, but the following day, I ended up selling it, selling my GrubHub shares for a little bit of a profit. Overall, I'm still negative on the whole trade. It could have been a lot worse. Like I said, if I wasn't stupid about the price action, waiting for the price to turn positive before I started to snap up some shares, I think the trade would have worked out for me a whole lot better, and I didn't have to be a stupid idiot about the whole. So I'm missing some of the footage in regards to the actual trading. It seems. I think all of my day one buys are kind of in place. I'm gonna go through my activity, try to figure out exactly what I lost, but I know I did end up losing money on the GrubHub trade. So essentially there are two lessons here. Don't try to bottom fish unless you're ready to deal with losses of it going down less and less. Bottom fishing for me here wasn't that big of a deal because I was only buying in 100 shares at a time. So essentially blocks of like 3,800 or less at a time. Probably shouldn't have done that trade anyway, but I did keep the sizes small. Lesson number 2 is don't gamble going into earnings season like I do, unless you're ready that occasionally your gambling will result in a 40% loss on your trade. So those are the two things I want you guys to keep in mind. Don't let my channel inspire you to gamble into earnings. This is just something I do with a much smaller bucket of cash than my larger trades. So that's it from me this time. I'm gonna get some food. I'm gonna probably drive. DoorDash and GrubHub in this area literally it's at least 50% more the cost of the food, sometimes as high as double the cost of the food. Anyway, thanks for tuning in again this time, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Just want all